Hi, my name is Shishmitha or Sushi, and I am Zoe Flowers' intern for this summer, 2017, and I'm so honored to intern as well as write this vlog. So right now you're watching a interview series that I'll be doing for this summer, interviewing Zoe Flowers as well as her fellow activists in the domestic violence movement. And so a quick introduction of Zoe Flowers. So you see in this video, so she is a author, poet, actress, Reiki master, and seasoned domestic violence expert. Her poetry and essays can be found in Stand Our Ground, poems of Trayvon Martin and Marissa Alexandra, and Dear Sister, letters from survivors of sexual assault, and several online journals. So I'll be getting to know about her personal life and her journey through activism and how she got about it. Okay, Zoe, are you ready?
I am.
Okay, great. So, if you could first just tell me about yourself. How did you become to be known as Zoe Flowers?
Okay. So how did I become myself? Well, I was always interested in helping people. I was always giving advice, even as a young person, to adults, to everyone, really, friends, everything. And how I got into this. So really when I started out, I thought I would be in entertainment. I thought I would be acting and doing all of those very exciting things, which luckily things have come full circle. So I am getting to do those things now. Let's take my glasses off because there's always a glare on the video. So yeah, so I was more on the entertainment route, and that was really my focus. That's what I thought I would be doing forever. And then in my 20s, I ended up in a dating violence relationship. And that really changed the course of my work. Once I got out of that relationship, I felt like I really wanted to help other women and men like myself. And so I joined the domestic violence movement at a young age. I was very idealistic and thought, we're all in this together. We're all going to just like end this thing. And that was over 15 years ago. And that's how I started doing the work.
Awesome. And also first, congrats on your new book, From Ashes to Angel's Dust, A Journey Through Womanhood.
Thank
and
you.
I wanted to ask you, so tell me about the synopsis of your book and how it came about through this journey, in this 15-year long journey.
Sure. That's a great question. So the book really came about because I got out of the relationship and I actually had to leave the state that I was in, which I talk a little bit about that in the book. And I started writing another book, a book of fiction. Let me know if there's any background noise because I'm outside, I started writing a book of fiction. And about 5 girlfriends. And one of the girlfriends was in a domestic violence relationship. And of course, at that time, I didn't even have a name for the relationship that I was in. I didn't know that it was a domestic violence relationship. If anybody had asked me that, I would have absolutely been like, no, of course not. I was in a relationship, where we argued or whatever. I was trying to help him or, whatever, right? I would have never thought that I was in a domestic violence relationship at that time. So, so I had to do research. And as I was doing research, I realized that there was a whole history of women doing this work. That this was a whole movement. This was a whole thing. And that there was a name for it, and there were reasons why people ended up in this relationship, and that there were societal, reasons that contributed to it. And I started learning about rape culture, and so then Spirit, because obviously I work a lot from Spirit, which I'm sure we'll talk about, said you have to be honest, you have to tell the truth. And so all of the ideas about the fiction and all of that book, they just totally left. And so I immediately knew that I had to write a different kind of book. And it also happened at that time that lots of my friends in my close circle, like almost every single woman I knew, had either left that relationship like that or was in one currently. And up until then, I was writing mostly poetry and things like that. Because again, I was in my early 20s, and again, I was focusing more on sort of the entertainment aspect. And so I was already writing, but not this kind of writing. And so then I started interviewing women about their stories, and it slowly became Ashes. So, and again, and I talk more about that in depth in the book, but that's sort of the quick and dirty of how it happened.
Awesome. And also, can you explain to everyone how you got the title Ashes?
From Ashes to Angels Dust?
Yes.
That's kind of a long-ish story. So when I wrote the book, I knew that I wanted to at some point turn it into a documentary or a play or something. I wanted another life after the book. And so the book came out at a different name initially, the first iteration of the book that I published in 2005. So this iteration of the book is quite different than the first one. Some of the stories are still the same, but I added poetry, I added healing techniques. So that first iteration of the book was actually called Dirty Laundry. And so that came about because, in communities of color, there's this thing of we don't air our dirty laundry. And so that to me was like, well, we need to start talking about it. We need to start airing our dirty laundry. So that was sort of the first title of the book. And then I started working with my writing partner, Sherry Pullum, and we started putting this play together in 2010, right? So I wrote the first iteration of Ashes in around 2005 or so. It was a really short run. I self-published it. I think I only got like 100 books, sold those. And that was really it, because people weren't really feeling the subject matter at that time. It was a long time ago. It doesn't seem like it. I mean, maybe it's even, it was 2005. Yeah. So not that long ago, but things have really changed, obviously, since then. So, people weren't really feeling it. They weren't really interested in talking about it. And so I did a short run. It was very discouraging. And then started working on the play in 2010. And the play started picking up. And so the name of the play was From Ashes to Angels Dust, A Journey Through. And so the ashes, to me, are really the things that we go through, the things that, it's kind of like the ultimate Phoenix story, the things that should have burned us out, the things that should have kept us down. We use that, and it becomes angels dust in a way, right? So it's really about rising from the ashes and taking off and becoming something else and transforming.
Great.
So
Because I think it's so interesting how you went from dirty laundry to ashes, because I think it's so interesting, because one is like in the domestic, in the household, and now this is almost anywhere in the earth, which is more like you could connect to it. And I'm thinking about a theme that's within your book as well as in your website, Soul Requirements, which is about breaking the silence. How were you able to first find this courage within yourself to break the silence? And then two is like ability to interview fellow women and men within your book and seeing how they were able to share their stories. Hey, Zoe. Okay.
Hey.
Okay. Yeah. Do you want me to repeat the question again?
You were thinking of a theme.
Yes.
Okay.
So the theme is about breaking silence.
Okay.
How were you able to find the courage within yourself to first tell your story? Because as a person who saw your performance at Smith College, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to say these really traumatic events in life and then making into art performance and even interviewing fellow women and men in your book. So how were you able to do that?
Yeah, so for me, doing things like that is not difficult. I don't think about it really until, like, the first iteration of that book. I didn't think about anything until the night before the books were going to be delivered. I just kind of get an inspiration and I move on it. And I don't really think about what could happen until it's done. So I didn't get nervous until I thought, oh my gosh, everybody at my mom's job, because they had all pre-ordered the book. I was like, they're all going to know my business. My family's going to know my business. People are going to know but by then it was too late. It was too late by then. Books were on their way. The people had paid their money. We had pre-ordered. So it was too late. So I think it's a blessing that I just don't get caught up in that. I don't know. Maybe it's just my personality that, and now that I've been telling my story so long, that part of my life feels like a different person. So a lot of those thoughts, emotions, etc., don't get as dredged up as they did before.
And I'm wondering, how do you break the silence with other people and start this conversation?
Challenging.
Okay, Zoe. So the question I was asking was, how do you break the silence with other people? How do you enter into this conversation where you test the comfort zone with people, but also challenging them to talk about these issues?
So typically what happens is I think just because it's what I'm supposed to be doing, that people just feel safe. And so in particular, when we do the play, we always do a debrief at the end of the show. And people just start sharing their stories right from the beginning. Smith was a little different only because it was a little bit of a smaller audience. But we usually have people disclosing in the audience. Men, women, like older gentlemen, especially in the beginning when we first started doing it, we would get so many people that would just disclose, and we could not believe it, that, or people would come up to us afterwards and say, I never told anybody this, but this happened to me. The things that you talked about in the show is my experience. And so it wasn't anything calculated where I thought, oh, I'm going to get people together and I'm going to get them to, tell me their stories. That wasn't it. It just happened, but I'm also a person who people just start telling me their business anyway. I could be at Starbucks, and if I allow a conversation to open, people just start telling me their business. And it's like, okay, clearly I have something on my face that says, yes, you can tell her your sad story. So
you see, I've noticed that with myself too. And how do you treasure and hold their narratives, even if it's with trauma? What to do with those stories, right? I mean, of course you can't deploy them, but yeah, it's just how do you still know how to protect yourself, but also really cherish these moments?
Yeah, I think it comes with time. I think it comes with time, and it comes with spiritual practice and understanding that you're a holder of people's stories. That's like your job. That's what, you're here to do. So you just kind of do it. And you just have a spiritual practice so those stories don't weigh you down. I mean, I've been doing this work for a really long time. So, in a way, you get kind of, I like to say they wore me down, they broke me down, But no, I just think I don't attach to people's stories that much to where I'm carrying people's stories around with me, because I have enough stories of my own to release. I don't need to pick up other people's stories and make them mine. I'm good.
Yeah.
So Yeah, it's just my work.
Mm. And
It's my work.
I want to hear more about your work with in terms of being a Reiki master and even how you travel to different countries for forms of spiritual practices. So can you explain how you got into that and tying it with your art forms?
Sure. So, the Reiki was a natural evolution, I feel. I used to have gatherings. So many of these things just are things that just came natural to me, just who I am. So, and then somehow I formalized them, right? And made them
Mm,
into something else, right? So, what I mean by that is, I used to just have gatherings at my house. I used to just have gatherings. Like, I had this wonderful gathering. I had this great loft when I lived in Atlanta. And we just decided to just have a gathering of women.
mm,
And I don't even know how many people were at that thing. I mean, it could have been 30 women. And we just wound up sitting in a circle. It was just completely organic and just talking. And like, I just created the space and the women just showed up. And then we wound up going up on the roof and watching the sunrise. And it was just like this glorious thing. And
mm,
then I started inviting people to my house. And everybody would bring food and we would meditate. And so, like I said, I was always doing this kind of work um, from a kid. I've always been tapped into, the universe, the universal. I feel like we're all one, right? I don't think there's any great mysticism around it. I don't think it's like anything very woo-woo. I think that the universe is very scientific in a way. And we're all one, we're all energy. And some of us are more open to be tapped into different forms of information that the universe presents us.
mm,
And so, I just kind of follow that along. So whether it was having people at my house and we would just sit in a circle and we would do breathing, right? Before, we would call it meditation. We were just doing breathing. And then I started doing yoga in probably like 98.
mm,
I started doing yoga. That opened me up to a whole nother, a deeper form of meditation. But I always kind of ran with like, I always had like at least one or two spiritual folk in my back pocket. They always seem to find me, whether, when I was here in Connecticut in my early 20s, it was a pastor's wife
mm,
that we just kind of hit it off. And I would just get lessons from her. After my dating violence relationship, my coworker, who just happened to be a deacon,
mm,
wound up, that's where I went into quote unquote hiding. Like after my ex broke into my apartment and I had to find somewhere to live,
mm,
I went and lived with her. So there was always spiritual people placed in my path at the exact right moment. My good friend Wayne Pretlow introduced me to spiritualists such as Catherine Ponder, Emily Cady, excuse me, Florence Scoville Shin. These people were always placed in my path. So it was always the natural progression. So then when I moved to Atlanta, I really started getting into crystals. Atlanta was really where the spirituality took off because I started getting into crystals. I started to find more people like me um, at different crystal places. And then I started reading more. And then when I moved to New York, I was already deep into meditation and all that stuff. So when I moved to New York 7 years ago, Spirit said, you're supposed to be a healer.
mm,
Actually, I heard that message long before I was living in Atlanta, but I kind of ignored it because I was like, I got too many issues. Like, I can't be no healer. Like,
mm,
I got like mad drama. Who am I gonna like tell to do anything? Like, that's ridiculous. So the thing about it is, you get these messages, and if you don't follow up on them, they kind of go away sometimes. So
mm,
it kind of went away, and then I was in New York and I heard it again and it started getting louder and louder and louder. So I just left myself open to the right modality for me. I didn't want to choose anything. I just wanted to allow the right modality to find me, and Reiki found me. The person that would become my Reiki master wound up living right around the corner from me.
Wow.
And went, and he was like, have you ever had Reiki before? And I said, no, I've never had it. And then I had it, and he was like, well, let me show you what it is. And I was like, okay, this is something I want to do for the rest of my life. And so I started doing Reiki as, and he kept saying, you should be a teacher, you should teach Reiki. And I was like, no, I don't want to teach nobody. I don't want to do all that. And then after a while, people were coming to see me from out of town.
Mm.
And the thing about teaching people to do Reiki is that they can do it on themselves. So I had a client that was driving from Connecticut to New York to see me. And then one day she left, and I thought, man, she just had all this peace, all this loveliness, and then she's going to get back in the car and drive for 3 hours in New York traffic, which can totally take you out of your zone. So I said to myself, wouldn't it be beautiful if she just became a Reiki practitioner, and then she could do it on herself? And so that's why I decided to be a teacher. And of course she was like, well, I don't want to do it on myself. I would rather come to you, or you come to me. And so it started, I didn't charge anything for like 6 months. I just did it for free. I would do, and then actually I met this white lady. She was a Reiki healer, and she did all types of different things. And she was like, you need to be charging. Like, this is a reciprocal universe. You need to value your worth, and you need to charge people. So then, which was hard for me to even like really do. Because I had my own still insecurities about doing Reiki. Like, oh, are they going to feel it? Are they going to be here? You know, I had so much ego in it. And then my teacher was just like, just do the work. Just put your hands down, and the Reiki energy will flow, and you don't have to worry about anything. Turn my phone the other way. So, so that's what I did. Right. So then I just started doing little, not even little. I started doing, the first big thing I did was, there's a arts and activism it's not a festival. It's a week-long annual meeting, really, called Alternate Routes. Out of, they do it in Asheville, North Carolina, and it's phenomenal. I mean, it's off the hook. It's just like artists and well, they started bringing more healers in, right? So it was mainly artists and activists, and they wanted to bring the healing aspect in. They had a good friend of mine who had been doing it for years. He did body work. They wanted somebody else to come in and do Reiki or something, and I was recommended. And so packed up my truck, packed up my folks, put my Reiki table in the back. We drove to North Carolina that first year. And for the full week, I did nothing but Reiki on people. I taught energy work in the morning, and I communed with nature, and it was off the chain. So I started doing that. And then I started doing more things like that, where I would bring my table and people would get like, they would get like 15, because I used to do like $1 a minute. So I would go to little things, set up my table, like, and so people would come and I would do work on them. But I stopped that, because then what happened is I started giving readings, which also was a surprise. I started doing tarot, and so then I realized that those kind of things were not the best vehicle for my work, because I was telling people deeply personal things. And in a lot of these venues, it's like a bunch of people in a room, and with tables and things like that. And they're really cool, but I didn't feel like it was the privacy that was needed for my work. Because a lot of people that come to me, first of all, a lot of people don't know they're coming, which is fine with me. I prefer it that way. I usually work on people who are at a very specific crossroads in their life. And so then the Joyful Heart Foundation, I used to work with them, and I actually quit there to be a Reiki healer. And then Newtown happened, and they contracted with me to run the healing center that they had started for the families of the children and really the whole community of Newtown after that massacre.
Mm.
So that was obviously Newtown happened right before Christmas, and so it was 2 weeks before Christmas, and so I was there Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, even before that, working with those families, and then after that they started a retreat program. Well, they always had a retreat program, but this was a very specific project that they were doing at Joyful Heart. And so they brought me out to California as part of the retreat project. And so then I was doing Reiki on survivors of domestic and sexual violence. And so it just kind of opened up. And then G and I, who you'll talk to on Sunday, my good friend and colleague, she was doing a retreat in Ecuador. Well, she decided, we were on the phone, and she's been talking about doing retreats for years. I've always wanted to do international retreats. And she was like, I think I'm going to do one on the solstice. And I was like, well, I'd love to help you. And she was like, well, good, you can help me run it. And we put the agenda together, and Solstice Soul Shifting Retreats was born. We planned it in like a month and a half.
Wow.
G did like all the groundwork, obviously, because she was, living in Ecuador. She did all the groundwork, and I did that first retreat in June, and then I did the next retreat in December of last year. And so it just the world just kind of opened up. Yeah, just kind of opened up. I feel like that happens when you say yes.
Wow. And I'm wondering, what are some of your favorite healing techniques that you do just like in the everyday, in terms of like even in your car right now? And yeah.
So it's funny because I'm realizing, for whatever reason, I'm always a scents person, because for a while I was also making oils, healing oils. And so really Reiki is my favorite. And then I found that I had a penchant for making oils. So I was making these oils and infusing them with Reiki, but it just got to be too much. So I was like, okay, no. But I'm really into scents. And so now, really since the election, the selection, I should say, scents have been really healing and grounding for me. It was really necessary for me to start buying, because I was making oils for so long and wearing my own oils that I was like, I ain't buying nobody else's stuff. I make my own stuff. But it was really important for me to start buying things that really made me feel good. And so I started buying like really fruity scents, and even the things like the Lush. I've been using Lush for years, but now it's like I need it. I taking a shower is probably for the past year is like my favorite thing to do. Like a hot shower with some good musky scented soap. It's like my favorite thing in the world right now. That's like my favorite thing. And yoga. When I get on the mat, it's like my favorite thing. So I would say scents, yoga, Reiki, meditation, and the water. Being in the water.
Yeah. Have you ever tried healing stones before?
Healing stones?
Yeah.
We talked, I know you and I talked about this. I've seen them, but I'm really more into crystals. I'm sure there's a stone around my house somewhere. And actually I made some, because I bought this book called The Goddess Journal, I think. The Goddess Pages. And it talks about how you can make your own runes. You make your own stones. So I made my own goddess stones. So you write whatever you want to attract into your life.
Yeah.
You buy like 26 stones, and you make a list of 26 things that you want to bring into your life, and then you write it on the stones, and you put the stones under the moon, and you let the moon, give it all that energy, and then you carry the stones in your pocket. So I did that for a while. But
very cool.
So yeah, and I must say, I like crystals. Like I've got a couple crystals in my car. But now I look at those things as, I feel like we carry the magic. We carry the magic. We carry the power. And these things are just reminders. So I'm the magic. So I don't need really the healing stones. I don't need really the crystals anymore. Like I used to need them. Like I've got this on now, made by Rework Creative.
That's so beautiful.
It's beautiful. It's Arkansas quartz. I love it. It is for grounding specifically. But I find that it's very healing for other people, like strangers and things like that touch it. And I used to be very like, don't touch my crystals and not letting people. But this one is very different because I feel like people need to touch it and it brings people joy. So I'm not as tied anymore to, I've got crystals all around my house. Based on feng shui. Based on their properties and feng shui, but I am clear that I don't need them. They are there because I like them, because I like to live in ritual. I like the ritual of buying a crystal and things like that, but I don't try to manifest with them like I used to. You know, I don't need to do all that stuff anymore.
Awesome. And so I'm going to take a little detour from the conversation.
Sure.
And go back to some of like the resources you were talking about. So like it goes back to your healing, it goes back to your writing and art. So how do you encourage more people to get involved, especially people who don't know about these issues or people who want to know them, but they're too afraid to be like, I don't know if I have the magic or not. And how do you either attract them or how do you get people to feel interested and more integrated within these subjects?
I don't look for people to do that. I just am living my life, and people just come and ask. I don't try to get people to do anything because that doesn't work. That doesn't work. You know, I've been trying to get my mother to stop smoking since I was like 7 years old, right? She's like just now, like 2 weeks ago, got the Chantix. So I don't try to get people to do anything anymore. I don't even try to get my clients to do anything. I don't even call them I don't even know why I just said clients. Like, because the bottom line is what I found from first being friends with somebody that did healing work for a very long time and then venturing into this world myself and being a human on the planet. I find that most people do not change until they have some kind of diagnosis, until, you know, the shit really has to hit the fan for most people to change, to really change, because it's hard. Even doing domestic violence work, when I would do trainings and people would say, well, why doesn't she just leave and things like that? And I would say, well, how many people in this room have made New Year's resolutions? Like, you can't even stop drinking coffee. But you expect a woman or a man to leave her community, her maybe breadwinner, the person she loves. Like, that's ridiculous. And now the more that I'm fascinated with the brain. I have been for many years. I'm fascinated with the central nervous system, why it is so difficult for people to break habits. Those are things that I'm really, really interested in. And so now that I understand more about how the brain works, I understand that it's very hard for people to break habits. So I don't try to get people to do anything. Everything I do is an offering, and I present it that way. When I first started doing Reiki, you know, I would give people spiritual baths to do and like all of these instructions, and it was overwhelming. Me, I like a hardcore teacher. I like a teacher that's going to be like, you need to do this, 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 and this, and I will go do it. But I recognize that for other people, that can be very overwhelming. And one of the things about working with Joyful Heart is they have a very gentle approach to healing and to healing modalities. And so everything is an offering. So when I talk to people, I say, I would like to offer this to you. You might want to take this spiritual bath. You might want to use this essential oil. I just plant the seeds, and get out of the way. Because when you try to make people do things and change people's behaviors, that's a lot of ego. That's my ego trying, because that's because for me, I respect every person's spiritual journey, but I had to come to that. You know, like I said, I've been trying to get my mother to quit smoking since I was 7, right? She started smoking when she was 14. I'm not going to tell you how old she is. I'm not going to tell you how old I am. But it's been a long damn time, right? And so she really was the greatest teacher for me, that I need to respect her spiritual journey. Who am I to say what she needs to be doing? There may be a karmic lesson that she is working out through her addiction that I know nothing about. It's not my business. And so that is my approach. It's like, ultimately, it's your journey. You're going to do what you want to do. I'm going to plant these seeds. I'm going to offer you a spiritual bath, an essential oil, a book, a quote, a good word, whatever. And then it's not my business. I'm not wrapped up in people's journeys like that anymore. And that's probably why I don't carry people's stuff with me either.
Yeah.
And because I'm not wrapped up in it like that. Because I used to be the type of friend that if you have a really good friend and that person does something to you, I will stop talking to them. And you will still be talking to them, and I will be giving them the side eye. And I was like, well, wait a minute. I'm not talking to this person anymore. She going with them to the club? Oh no, I'm the one that has the problem, you know? So I used to get very because I love so hard, you know?
Yeah.
And so I used to get very wrapped up in people's stuff. And then I was like, well, wait a minute. They're not doing that for you. Like, you need to back up and mind your business.
I think that has so much power. It's like, because I think to really respect ourselves and our stories, it's about not necessarily in this unhealthy attachment, which really relates to the larger discourse on domestic violence too.
Yes. And that is probably, when I first started doing the work, they used to play this tape called the Lisa tape. And this tape, when I started doing domestic violence work, I should say, and we would play this Lisa tape before every training that we would do. And this tape was like a 7-year-old girl calling 911. And her father was abusing her mother in the background. And every time I would hear this tape, I would get triggered. It would instantly take me back to things that I hadn't thought about in like 20 years. And so, and then just hearing story after story of, women going back and being killed. And I just really I just got it one day. And I wasn't even on the job that long. And I just was like, wow, some women are just going to die. Like, that's just what it is. And I was just like, that is just what it is. It's going to happen. And so I had to accept that reality and be able to sit with that. And yes, I can work to prevent violence. And yes, I believe I work with people who don't even believe that domestic violence is going to end. I'm gonna just be real. I've been in rooms and people be like, do you think we can end domestic violence? And I'm the only one that's raising my hand. And then I'm like, well, shit, that's why we ain't ending this shit, because half of y'all don't believe it's possible. But anyway, but I believe it's possible. I believe it's going to take a long time, but I believe it's possible. But there are some things that we just have to learn to sit with. Like, bad shit is going to happen. The other thing I've learned on this journey that is helping me to heal is that nothing is personal. The universe is not personal. Bad shit happens. And so it's about the meaning that we make of the bad shit that happens. The meaning that I attach to being sexually assaulted, being in a domestic violence relationship, the stories I told myself about worthiness or not, those are the things that held me back, not what happened to me, but the meaning that I made of them, the story that I made of them, right? the things that go around and around in my head, like you're not worthy, you're never going to have love, you don't deserve love, you're not going to, that's the stuff that's holding me back, right? So sitting back and being like, oh, the universe is not, I'm not special. That shit happens to everybody. That's just what it is. People think they're special. People walking around here thinking they're special. You know, that's the American way. People in other countries, they know shit's fucked up. You know, they know things happen in other countries. But here, we think we're so special that bad things aren't supposed to happen. Bad things happen. And so it's sitting with all of those things. So that's a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah, I'm just trying to. I'm sitting with it. I'm sitting with it right now.
Yeah.
And see, I think like with all of this, when you were saying how you're able to find meaning, it reminds me. It goes back to how you constructed these art forms in your performance.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about your thinking, because it reminds me of bell hooks, like self-making and world-making. And yeah, I will definitely show you.
Thank you. I accept.
And
I love bell hooks. It's one of my favorites.
Exactly. And I think like this really reminds me of like how your art form is, you're focusing on yourself, you're dealing with your own business, but somehow it's affecting so many people. And so can you explain that like process? Just like, how did your performance like start to take place? Like, how were you able to embark on your own leadership and find your own sense of like activism, that sense of connection?
Yeah. So and bell hooks is a Libra like me, so I'm going to just say it's a Libra thing.
I'm a Libra.
Wait, no, you're not.
Yes, I
am. Of course you are. Of course you are.
Oh my goodness.
Of course. When's your birthday?
September 30th. Wait, when's your birthday?
October 11th.
Oh, okay. Well, it's nice to meet another Libra.
Well, there you go. This is all it's all divine. So Belle, like us, she believes in love. You know, she is always talking about love. You know, Gandhi was a Libra. You know, I'm not saying we're like Gandhi, but I'm just saying that. You know, we have this belief, I think, in justice. Like that's at the core, right? So how did the art develop? It took a long time. Again, because of the stories that I told myself about what I could and could not accomplish. And when I really just like, I think part of it was finding the right creative partner. I really needed that. Now I feel like you know me. Now you're a Libra, so now I can just, bring it down. So, we can procrastinate sometimes,
Exactly.
So partnering with Sherry was like the perfect counterpart to my art, because she's a Gemini. So she's like big thinker. You can do it. Let's just make it happen. And I was working in Florida at the Florida Coalition. It was a great job. It was what people would say a good job, good money, more money than I had ever made in my life, in my career. So I was on that track, but I had this voice saying, you should be doing this art thing. It connected with Sherry. She read it. She was like, girl, quit your job, move to New York. You can do it. I have faith in you. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And so I quit my job a couple months later, moved to New York City. And we would meet every day. She lived in Jersey. I lived in New York. And I would go to her house. She would come to my house. I'd be in the car with her while she's taking her kids to gymnastics. And I'd be on the laptop. And we would just dream. We just dreamt. And we just because I had the bones of Ashes, but it was too preachy, of course. And too wordy, of course. And she was just like, too preachy, too wordy, too preachy, too wordy. So we also had to, because I was taking it from a book, so we had to figure out how to take it from the page to the stage. So we created this historical context of the transatlantic slave trade as an influence on domestic and sexual violence, particularly in the African American community. And so I needed that push. I needed, she's relentless. I mean, she's relentless. So she would read it and she would be like, you can do more. You can do more. Like, and so I would go back and I would edit, and then I started putting my poetry in it. And that is how it really evolved. Like I needed that other half. I needed that creative half and she needed it. Because I was out here doing a lot of things, right? She was wanting to get back into the art because she was doing her mom thing. She was doing the mom, the kids, and all of that. So she needed my fire of saying, I've got this project. I'm going to quit my job and come to New York and do it. And I needed her to push me. And then the stories just came forward. And then I was just like, okay, now what? Now we have this piece, and things just sort of fell into place. And then I had to stop and get a job and things like that. And so things got put on the back burner for a while. But it has really evolved over these past 6 years. And of creating the play and then just submitting it to people and people just liking it and saying, yeah, bring it in. We want to see it. We want it. And then a lot of things, and especially in the beginning, I had to pay for a lot of shit. I mean, I paid for everything in the beginning. You know, I just had to. Finding locations, finding spaces, getting the actors together, and just putting on these shows and just advertising and people showing up. And that's really, it was really grassroots. I mean, we had no budget. I had no idea what I was doing because I came from a domestic violence world. Like, even though I was always in entertainment as a young person, but I've been in the world of domestic violence. I knew nothing about playwriting and direct. Like, I knew none of that. I just learned as I went. And that's pretty much how I do everything, you know? Yeah. So I'm trying to be more strategic now. I'm trying to be more strategic about things now because I'm learning more. So, so I got to New York. I was writing. I was like, oh, maybe I should take a playwriting class. So I took like a 3-month playwriting class. Then I took a 3-month acting class. And then that I started getting into the acting community of New York. And then different people started motorcycles.
Also, I'm sure people are wondering why you're outside. Do you want to tell people why you're outside? Or where you're right now?
As it's getting dark. Yes. Yeah. So, I'm always on the go.
That's a great response.
Or my mother doesn't have Wi-Fi. So I'm in the parking lot of Dunkin' Donuts.
But you're always on the go.
So that's why I'm here right now. And plus it's beautiful out. And I just kind of want to be outside.
Yeah. I like how the interview is outside. Like right now I'm in the Smith College Library.
Yes.
And I go to Smith College, everyone. But yeah.
Yes.
And that's how I met Zoe Flowers.
Yes.
And so I guess I'm wondering. So I'm a person who I loved drawing when I was like 5. But when I came to college, I just did not know anything about art. I was just like, yeah, that's not me. I'm not artistic, all this stuff. But I'm starting to get into this journey of art. I'm starting to get very interested. And I was wondering if you had any advice for people like me who we're not known for being artistic, but we really want to use art as a form of healing.
So what I would say is everything starts in the mind, right? So engage your imagination. Engage the playful part of yourself, and also, get curious about what you think you're not. Because I did that for a while. Like I just started calling myself a poet and a writer like 3 years ago. I mean, and somebody was like, okay, you have a show, like it's actually out there, people love it. But I just didn't feel like, I didn't go to I didn't go to school for it. And my friends in New York are like NYU, MFA in English. And they're like So I'm, number one, like the oldest person in the group a lot of times. And so I used to really just be like, oh, I'm not really a writer. Oh, I'm not really this. Oh, I'm not really that. Comparing myself to other people. My advice is don't do that. Engage that part of your personality. Make it up. Ask yourself as if, like, what if you started calling yourself an artist? What if you allowed yourself to just like have no titles on who or what you are, and just go for it? Because who's to say what, and this is actually what Dr. G said. She was like, so you don't have some certifications by some old white men like to tell you you're good enough? Like, you don't have some certification on your wall from some university, so that means you're not a playwright? No. So I say, engage your imagination, act as if you are whatever that dream is that you have, and find people that will be an accurate reflection of you, so that when you forget who you really are, they will remind you. That's probably the best advice I could give, and probably the best thing I've ever done in my life, is to have really good reflections, people who really see the fullness of who you are, and even see things about you that you don't see in yourself yet.
And I also reminds that of just the sense of confidence that so many women of color don't have, or like either we just get so internalized.
Yes.
So I think that's like steps towards confidence that I think, like, even like being a 21-year-old, like, we're all trying to learn.
Yeah. Yeah. And realizing that is a system of white supremacy and patriarchy, right? Like, every time I like look in the mirror and like frown at a bulge or whatever, I'm like, ooh, that's white supremacy. Like, you're doing some white supremacy on yourself. Like, who told you that you had to be slim to be attractive? That is not true. So it's like, we have to get real with what is, because for whatever reason, obviously, I believe that we choose to come here. I chose this body. I chose this ethnicity. I chose my family that I came into being, because there are certain lessons that I needed to learn. That is my belief. And so I chose to come in this body. So that means that there was a job that I had to do that could only be done by my experiences. The stories that I have to tell, and the job that I have to do, and the people that I have to influence, I had to be in this dark-skinned, nappy-haired, thick body. Because I wouldn't have had the experiences that I had that influenced so much of my art, and influenced my poetry, and influenced the things that interest me, right? So, yeah. So those things that we hate about ourselves are probably the things that make us interesting. Because sometimes I look at people that are like supposed to be that thing, and it's like, I don't know what I would do if everything was like, if I fit that standard of beauty.
Yeah.
What would I have? I don't know what I would have to say. I mean, I guess we'd always find something not to like about ourselves, but yeah, man, I just think we have to call things what they are, and recognize that billions of dollars have gone into making us not like ourselves. Like, that can't be lost on us. Billions and billions. People go to school and pay money to learn how to make you and I not feel good enough.
Exactly. And I think that aspect of white supremacy within institutions of learning comes really connected with one of your main audiences, which are college students. When you came to Yale University as well as Smith College, like, there's a huge rise of rape culture and sexual assault culture, and also this pervasive silence coming out. And I think it's really interesting because my first year, that was one of like the largest rape cases reported, which is like one thing. It's good to have more reporting, but it's also very alarming to see how many cases are keep on coming, keep on going.
Yeah.
And even like my years, that was when like the Stanford swimmer was coming up, and it was just like it was very present.
Yeah.
And so, and this is not just like, of course, history repeats itself. So in these
Yeah.
spaces, so like
Yes.
how do you find your piece and your work fitting into this culture, or even how to break this culture?
University culture.
Yeah.
I love it. It's probably being with you all, being with the students at Yale. That is what I'm most excited about now. Because first of all, I just love working with younger people. Like I just love it. I just love, and I feel like my work, I feel like it's so important because I feel like when I was in school, and I think even before, universities were so much more radical, and it was such a some. It was a place where you would come to learn how to critique.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is being lost in a way. I don't know, maybe not.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I feel like it's like nobody wants to. I shouldn't say nobody. Like I see not wanting to rock the boat as much. And I mean from higher ups. I don't mean from students. You know? So I feel like any opportunity I have to come into a university and talk with young people, and I gotta find a better word than young people.
Yeah.
Talk with students. Talk with the students about what they might face on that campus or when they leave. Anything I can offer, I want to do that. Because I also feel like there's a sense of protection. Like I felt a sense of protection when I was in school. Because certain things are accepted, right? It's like you're supposed to go to school and get drunk, and like that's a part of the culture. So it's like, but should it be a part of the culture? Should that just be an expectation? So just getting people to question things is planting those seeds so that people begin to question things is exciting. And what better place to do that than on a college campus?
Exactly. So so there was a theme of like planting seeds. And so I'm wondering how, as allies, as survivors, as people who, like, it's a question I asked before, but how can we get involved? How can we get involved either through your work or through our own lives? What does it mean to be fighting for the domestic violence movement?
Well, so first I would say that I am not fighting. I am working towards something. I take the prevention aspect. I like to focus on the world that I want to see, and so language is important, and so follow. Well, first of all, find something that makes you excited.
That's true.
I feel like also, again, this thing about autopilot, and we're going to go in a whole different direction, so I'm going to leave that alone. It's getting dark. But, you know, there's a lot of folks on autopilot. Students, parents, just folk in general. There's a lot of folks that are checked out, dissociated because of trauma, because they just can't handle it. And so there is a need for folks to become curious about what brings me joy. So if I was somebody and I wanted to get involved in something, first of all, what I would want to do, and I'm telling you the same thing that I tell people who write me about, they want to know about how to do magic, they want to know about spirituality, they want to know about what books to read, right? So I just say, first of all, get quiet. Turn everything off. Get quiet and listen to what your spirit tells you, because your spirit will tell you what you need to know. The problem is we are so dissociated. We are so afraid of being in silence. We don't want to go out in nature. We're not hearing the messages. So I would say first, get quiet, listen to what your spirit is telling you, and then follow that. You want to get involved? There are 999 things, quote unquote, wrong in this world, right?
Absolutely.
There's plenty of work to do. There's plenty of work to do. You want to get involved in domestic violence? Google, how can I get involved with domestic violence? There's domestic violence coalitions in every state in this country and in the territories. You want to know what a domestic violence coalition is? Look it up, right? So you're interested in the arts? Okay, how can I, and literally I've done this, right? There's this thing called drama therapy, which is so cool to me, where you actually go to school for a long time and you learn how to use acting and things like that to help people heal. So the need is out there. All you have to do is reach out, just like you reached out to me, right? That's all you have to do is get up, pull out your laptop or your phone or whatever, find what it is you're interested in doing, and believe me, there are so many people that need help. There's so many shelters that need volunteers. There's so many organizations that need interns. I mean, thank God you contacted me, because it's like,
oh my gosh,
already, like, I'm like, oh my God, this is such a godsend to me, you know? So,
oh my gosh, it's such an honor.
Oh, please. It's like, it's phenomenal for me. So there's so many people like me that just need the help. You know, we just need a team. So yeah, there's a lane for everybody. There's a lane for everybody. But in order for you to find your lane and get off of other people's lanes, you have to get quiet. And you have to get curious.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think being in such a digitized world with so many people, I think just sitting and being quiet and meditating, and then from there taking the initiative, acting upon that is key.
Absolutely.
Okay. And so Zoe, I notice it's getting really, really dark, but I think it's a good segue to start wrapping up the call. But I want to thank you so much, and I want to let everyone know that this is just the beginning, this call, because we're going to be interviewing many other activists that Zoe Flowers has connected me with, and that's another great way to start taking our initiatives and start hearing people's stories and how they also started to find meaning with their stories and start acting upon it. So any last words, Zoe?
Just again, Sushmita, thank you so much for reaching out. I'm so excited about the work we're going to do together. And good luck with all the rest of your interviews. And, you know, to everybody who watches this, just stay inspired, get curious, embrace silence, and have fun.
Okay.
Yeah.